Welcome back. We are in John chapter 10. Isn't it amazing that in the years that our safe harbor has been in existence, we have gone through the entire New Testament, book by book, in the order in which they were written, except for the Gospels. We pulled the Gospels out of that order so that we could do them one right after the other. And we've already done two. We've just got half of Mark and then the book of Luke to do. So just to remind you, if you run across a passage, let's say in First Corinthians or Hebrews or Romans, that puzzles you and you'd like to know, well, what has Patrick said about that? How does he approach this? You can go and search and find those videos. Now, the easiest way to search is not on YouTube. YouTube makes it pretty difficult to find exactly what you want. But you can go to Vimeo, that's Vimeo.com, and look up Our Safe Harbor Church. And all of our videos are there, even a couple that YouTube would not allow to be posted. They're there, and they're free. You don't have to make an account to find them. And it's much easier to search and find them over there. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up. We don't have any monetary interest there. We don't get any extra likes or points or counts when people view over there. It's a really nice place. Good quality video and easy to search. So, just to let you know, all right? John chapter 10, please do not divorce it from John chapter 9, that amazing story from last week, where a man who's been blind since birth is given his sight back by Jesus. And then people are going, wait a minute, weren't you blind? And he goes, yes, and Jesus healed me. And some religious leaders are saying, I bet he was faking blindness the whole time. They would do anything not to believe in Jesus. Sounds a lot like folk today. They will do anything not to believe in God. And some of the things they believe in instead of are rather bizarre. But we could also say that about a lot of Christians, and that we would not, no matter what you say, we're not going to believe that guy. No matter what you say, we're not going to believe that guy. We need to be the kind of people who don't grab onto the world so hard that we stop listening to the rest of the world. That said, Jesus is not done talking to these people who are now arguing about who he is, whether this guy was really blind or not, how this guy can restore sight, and all of that. And so Jesus does what Jesus does, and that is he starts using illustrations and allegories and metaphors. So here we go, John chapter 10, verse 1. Very truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him. The sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he has brought them all out on his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they didn't understand what he was saying to them. I don't think I need to explain very much about this. They would create a sheepfold, normally out of rocks, because there are a lot of rocks in the fields, just like there are in Scotland and Ireland and England. And so you pile them up and make fences. And then there'd be a gate, and you would get the sheep in through the gate. Now, if you're coming into the sheepfold by coming over the wall, that would mean you're a robber, you're a thief. You need to come in through the gate. And the shepherd knows his sheep, and so he calls them by name. They know his voice, and they come to him and they enter the sheepfold. Now, sheep are not known for their brain capacity. Let me just put it this way. As somebody who's been around a lot of sheep in my life, they can be very, very stupid, but they are good at recognizing their shepherd. Now, that includes if his old Land Rover is bouncing, old rusting, falling apart Land Rover is bouncing through the field, they recognize the sound of that, and they will come to him. He doesn't have to walk among them singing like David had to do. You just talk to them, and they will bring them, they will start following the shepherd. Now, shepherds have sheepdogs and other things to help them, but you get the point. So Jesus is saying, these are my people, and the people who know me come in through me. I'm the shepherd, and I look after them. Anybody trying to get in any other way is, avoiding me, is a thief, a robber. They didn't get it, so he breaks it down a bit. So again, Jesus said to them, very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Well, he couldn't be much more plain than this, could he? His exclusivity. And this is the problem with Christianity. It's not a problem if you just deal with reality, and that is that Jesus is real and Christianity is us following Jesus. But the world doesn't like exclusivity. They like it whenever you say, there are many roads to God, and it doesn't really matter which God you choose, or if you choose no God and just choose to be a nice person, whatever nice means to you, and then it'll all end up and we'll be in one big happy mess. As a universalist, or almost a universalist, I truly believe that God will save almost all of us. But to enter into the true life that Jesus wants to give you, here, now, as well as later, you have to go through Jesus. You're not going to get it elsewhere. And I have used this illustration before, and people get very angry, but they cannot show me any facts to discredit it at all, because the facts are that where Christians go, things get better. They don't get better instantly, because sometimes Christians are stupid or violent or prejudiced or misogynist or the like. But over time, Christianity brings with it greater rights and freedom for women, greater rights and freedom for other people. It brings better care for the poor and the widow and the dispossessed, where Christianity goes. And where Christianity is then driven back out by secularism or by another religion, you see all of those things collapsing. More violence, less freedom, more fear, more division. Christians are not perfect at all, period. They and I make mistakes, and sometimes they are really, really, really bad mistakes. But we're talking as a whole. Look over human history and see the difference they make. And it's a pretty impressive difference. Well, the reaction to this, I can only imagine. We know they were very divided. That comes later in the chapter. But Jesus now is really trying to get through to them that they have now access to a better, more abundant life. Just like this blind guy that is now a seeing guy who's getting put out of the synagogue because he won't agree with the religious leaders who have an impossible belief system that has to deny reality to continue. By the way, if your belief system requires you to deny reality, it's time to question the belief system. Adjust it, re-examine it, have a reformation in your head. He goes ahead, verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and I know my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. And I read one verse further there than I intended to read, but here we go. Jesus is not going to be one of those leaders that demands you serve him, follow him in subservient ways. He says, I'm the gate. I'm the shepherd. But I lay down. Notice it doesn't say, I would if the circumstances required. He says, I lay down my life for the sheep. I'm laying it down now. I'm laying it all down for you, Jesus is saying. And he knows that ends in a cross. He knows where it's going. They don't know that. He knows it, but he's still willing. I have been in churches before where whenever the pastor, the bishop, or the whatever they call him walks in, they play a special song. It's almost like Hail to the Chief. His clothes are better than anybody else's clothes. His house is better than anybody else's house. His pay is good, better than the people in his flock, and that's considered his due. Sits up on a throne almost, and just this is considered, due respect for this great high fellow. Jesus never, ever, ever asked for any of that. In fact, he says when you come in, sit down at the very end of the table. Take the least honorable seat. If they ask you to come up a little bit, then come up a little bit, but be humble. And Jesus modeled this perfectly. He never shows any signs of arrogance or narcissism. He always gives space to the other, but says, follow me. I'm laying down my life for you. And then he's referring here to the other religious leaders. He's saying they won't do that. They're hired hands. And hired hands will run away when the wolves come. Now, security work is honorable work. I'm glad it's there, and I want people to do it. That said, most mall cops, mall security, are not trained terribly well. There is, in most states, there's a training requirement. They're not armed very well, and they're not allowed to really do much when it comes to actually secure the place. And they're not paid well. They're just not. I think that if we doubled the pay and doubled the training, it would be better for all of us, but people like to cut costs. I have seen mall security before and been glad it was there, but I didn't lie to myself and say, something, if a guy comes in with guns here, that guy who's got a tube of tear gas on his canister and that's it, is going to run and get between me and the shooter. Some of them might, but would you for minimum wage or a bit more? I was told that directly by a corrections officer. Not recently, so don't look toward my work in Louisiana. But I was in another prison in another southern state. Whenever I saw that the corrections officers were unarmed, this is one of my first interactions since, with an American prison, and that the prison cells were not individual cells, but were rather dormitories where there were 20 up to 50 people in one large room. And I asked the guard, I said, what do you do if somebody in the back gets in a fight with somebody in the back? And he says, we close the door and we call the rest of the guys, and we call the guys from the gate. I said, you don't go in to try to help? He goes, no. I said, why not? He said, would you for what we're paid? I went, okay. I wasn't really happy about that exchange because my job that day was to go back down deep into the dormitories and talk to some people that some of them didn't want to be talked to. And I then brought that up. I said, would you come after me? And he said, no. And he's just honest as he could be. And one level, I guess I appreciate that. But at the rest of it, inside, I'm screaming. And Jesus is saying, these high priests, these leaders, they're hired hands. They're going to run away when it gets difficult. They're not going to help you. I'm laying down my life for you and will lay down my life for you. And not only will I do it for you, that last verse I read that I wasn't going to read at this stage, verse 16, he says, I'm doing it for others too. Sheep that you don't know about. Sheep that you've never heard about. Now, they understood exactly this metaphor. By this time, they were getting it. The sheep are the people of Israel. That's God's chosen people. And yet here Jesus is saying, other people are chosen too. I'm going after them too. They're going to be one flock. There's going to be one shepherd. I love that. I love that. That sounds very much like a prophecy and a promise to me. That maybe we don't see it now, but I still believe in this world or off world, Jesus will get it done. Verse 17, for this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. Now that bit, I guarantee you, they weren't getting. We get it because we read the spoilers. We've read the script. We know what happens next. But he says, I lay it down. I'll get it back. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have power to lay it down. I have power to take it up again. And I've received this command from my Father. Now that, my friends, is a very strong statement of his deity. Whenever a person looks at you and says, I will die, and by my power, I will raise again, they're either insane or they're not human. Now, Jesus was 100% human, but he was also 100% deity. Very unique in history. This is, once again, for those people that say Jesus never expressly says, yes, he does. Many times, many ways. We saw it a couple chapters ago. 18, verse 19, as I said, again, the Jews were divided because of these words. Many of them were saying, he has a demon. He's out of his mind. Why listen to him? Others were saying, these are not the words of one who has a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? At that time, the festival of the dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple in the portico of Solomon. So the Jews gathered around him and said to him, How long will you keep us in suspense? If you're the Messiah, tell us plainly. Jesus answered, I have told you, and you don't believe. The works that I do in my Father's name testify to me, but you don't believe, because you don't belong to my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. I know them. They follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish. I give them eternal life. Does that sound like a Messiah statement? Sure does to me. And they will never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. What my Father has given me is greater than all else, and no one can snatch it out of the Father's hand. The Father and I are one. What did he just do there? An express statement of his deity. The Father and I are one. Echad, the same. Echad means one, the same. This is such a powerful statement of messiahship. They got it. How do we know that they got it? Look at the next verse. The Jews took up stones again, this has happened repeatedly, to stone him. Jesus, isn't afraid, he says, I've shown you many good works for the Father. For which of these are you going to stone me? The Jews answered, it is not for a good work that we're going to stone you, but for blasphemy, because you, though only a human being, are making yourself God. See, they heard it. They got it. Jesus answered, is it not written in your law? I said, you are gods. And the scripture cannot be annulled. Can you say that the one whom the Father has sanctified and sent into the world is blaspheming because he says, I am God's son? If I'm not doing the works of my Father, then do not believe me. But if I do them, even though you do not believe me, believe the works, so that you may know and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. Well, then they tried to arrest him again, but he escaped from their hands. Now, does that mean he ran away, slipped through the crowd? I don't know, but he got away from them. The reactions to Jesus have not changed that much over the centuries. Some are as sheep and we just flock to him. Some come eventually. There are a lot of timid sheep. I've been one in my life repeatedly that kind of skitters close to Jesus and pulls back. And Jesus addresses that. He says, if you don't believe in me, believe in the works. And I'm able to shy away and then look and see all of the, well, this is the effect Jesus has. Look at the words he's saying. Look at the kind of character he has. I got to get closer. But then there are others that when they hear this, they are outraged. How dare you say you are the way, the truth, the life? That comes up in just a couple chapters, people, in chapter 14. The way, the truth, the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. How can you? Oh my goodness, how offensive is that? And people have told me that I don't know how many times in my life, and I hear it all the time in social media. I see it in newspapers and such. You may think the Christians in America get a kicking. You should go to Europe and read the papers. It's hard to read the papers for more than a few days in any European country and not see Christianity get a kicking. It is the exclusivity, which just blows my mind, by the way, that the Islamic faith doesn't bother them nearly as much. I'm going to keep wondering, do you not understand how exclusive that is? But maybe it's just because population density hasn't hit certain levels yet. But once it happens, there are going to be people who say, oh, no, not exclusive. We can't do that. With Christians, sometimes Christians, it was too late by that time. They had turned into inquisitors. And if you denied the faith, they killed you. Muslims can do the same. This is not a one religion problem. We need to listen to the voice of Jesus. And if it's exclusive, it's exclusive. A lot of things in life are exclusive. Like the laws of physics, you don't get options. This is what they are. Our commitments. I got a mortgage years and years ago, been paying on it for years and years. That's who I pay. I can't say, well, I took the money I usually send to you, bank, and instead I paid it to the guitar shop. No, we have an exclusive deal here. We are in marriage, exclusivity. You understand the point. There are some exclusive things. It's reality. Why do people think it's not a reality when it comes to religion? Oh well. Moving on. 40, he went away again across the Jordan to the place where John had been baptizing earlier, and he remained there. Many came to him, and they were saying, John performed no sign, but everything that John said about this man was true, and many believed in him there. This is going to be a shorter lesson today. It was just one chapter, but it's a fast chapter. There's a lot in there, but we know most of it. We've gotten most of this in sermons and classes. But there's a lot to discuss if you'd like to discuss this further. The reason I'm cutting this off is because John chapter 11 is not an easy chapter. And it is often read as if it is. But it is a brutally tough, emotionally demanding, and sometimes almost offensive story. And I don't want to start that and then have to throw the brakes on it after 4 or 5 minutes. So instead, you get out of class early today, just a 24-minute video. But I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that it does well for you. And isn't it good, even he likes the timid sheep too. And just listen and look and see what he does. See what he says. That should draw you closer. And besides, he's intending to get everybody in this flock to be one with him and one with the Father. And that's good news for all of us. God bless you. I hope to see you next time as we hit that incredibly difficult chapter of John chapter 11. It's quite a trip. It's quite a trip. You ready? We'll see you next Wednesday.